Welcome to Smellomania. Today I'll try to find the best way to smell perfume. I'll be spraying, sniffing, cutting, burning and telling you some cool stories. Even Mr. Smellomania will join us today. Let this be a small how-to video in between my reviews. The best way to test a perfume at a store would be to use a blotter. But what is a blotter? And where can I get one if I'd like to test my perfumes at home without spraying myself with 8 different fragrances? A blotter is a thin piece of sturdy paper which absorbs and then slowly diffuses the perfume. You can definitely make some blotters by yourself at home. There's only one thing: not all paper is created equal. Paper towels turn into noodles. Simple printer paper is too thin and wrinkles up. Thick glossy paper doesn't absorb anything. And thicker cardboard smells like, well, wet cardboard and may interfere with your perfume analysis. So I went to the art supply store and bought myself a large piece of watercolor paper. It's the absolute perfect paper for blotters, because it holds moisture really well, since it was actually designed to be wet and not become crinkly. Also, it doesn't release any weird odors once it gets soaked. Or you could just order some blotters on AliExpress. However, this one time, when a bag of fresh blotters arrived to me, they had a weird smell, which absolutely beats the purpose. Therefore, they were useless since the smell was so persistent and wouldn't go away for months. I love a good wide blotter. The more expensive the store, the wider the blotter. A narrow blotter is a lot cheaper to make, especially if it's a lot shorter too. And sometimes you'll see wider ones with tapered ends, and this serves a purpose on a perfumer's desk. Narrow and tapered blotters fit perfectly into various bottles and are just amazing for testing your creations without having to spray them. Also, it's always a good idea to bend the tip of the blotter upwards so that the substances don't get smudged on your desk and just aerate better. Note to myself: do not keep unused fresh blotters in my perfume drawer. Various aromas find their ways even through a thickest plastic bag. Perfume smelling method number 1, the aeration method. In short, you just spray some perfume on your blotter and wave it under your nose. You aerate it. Take the blotter, spray some perfume on it, and watch it bloom with impressions. However, when you spray perfume on a piece of paper, all you're doing is just trying to fit a very 3D, even a 5D experience on a very 2-dimensional object. While in reality, smell is so multi-dimensional, multifaceted, ever-changing and ever-evolving. And yet, we try to project it on a piece of paper crushed into a triangle of top, middle and base notes. Maybe the least we can do for our complex perfumes is to fit them into real pyramids. During my perfumery studies, I've learned about the discrimination method. It's when you train your ability to spot even the slightest difference between very similar odors. Perfumers would compare the smell of paper torn from 2 different books. They would try to analyze the aroma of 2 almost identical roses. Maybe one bud received more sunlight and smells sweeter by a millionth fraction. Maybe the other one received a bit more rain and has a slight moldy twist in its olfactory bouquet. My wonderful teacher, Laima Kirškūnė, an absolutely brilliant perfumer, studied from Edmund Rudnicka, a master of masters. they would dilute essential oils up to 0.001% and would try to recognize and name the substances. That's absolutely wild. That would seem like a superpower to me. Perfume smelling method number 2, the smelling cup method. Quite a long time ago, Edward Monclean thought of a brilliant idea. He took a big glass of wine, broke off the stem, cut a small opening at the very base of the glass, and just stuck his blotter inside. And suddenly, his very 2D blotter transformed and started swirling all around the glass with pronounced aromas. He then realized that he was smelling the whole space. He was smelling the experience of the perfume instead of just a two-dimensional representation. The Monclean method is considered to be the most accurate one. Basically, this is a big round area for odor accumulation, a smaller opening at the top for a concentrated whiff, and a place for blotter insertion at the bottom. The cheapest way to have an ultimate smelling experience is to get a big plastic coffee cup from your local gas station, make a small incision at the bottom, and voila! Let's test it against a simple naked blotter. Now the perfume on just the blotter felt a bit spikier, as if the top note was more prominent. Once that blotter was placed inside a sniffing cup, the scent felt more harmonious, more blended and wholesome. It felt like just the blotter had a sharper top note, while the cup evened it out and the top note felt more rounded. I then went on a hunt for the perfect glass container, which I could turn into my own personal smelling cup. And then I discovered this beauty. My chosen vase had a narrow opening to perfectly fit the blotter, and I thought that I could just cut off the base very easily and have my own magnificent smelling cup. So I got a semi-decent glass cutter, and after a few hours of intensive efforts, I barely made a scratch. I even tried dipping a string in alcohol and setting it on fire. Yes, that's a real method and it was supposed to work, but it didn't really work. At that point, I just gave up and asked Mr. Smellomania to help me.
Well, hello there. Never before have I tried to cut a vase, especially of such thin glass. It is so fragile that it seems it could break just by looking at it with a more aggressive thought. Not surprisingly, I managed to damage it in my backpack when in transit to the garage. I have some DIY experience with wood, metal, and even various crystals, but this particular task had its unique challenges because I had only one try, and glass is not forgiving, as you will see. I decided to use a rotary tool. I have used it in the past to work on quartz with diamond-coated bits quite successfully. But in this case, I wanted to use a more elegant solution, or so I thought. I made a primitive jig to mark the lines. My initial idea was that I would scribe a line with an abrasive tip and it would allow me to easily break off the unwanted material. Instead, I just managed to further abuse the vase. It does not break evenly at all. I then upgraded my system to be more stationary. In my experience, it is better to have either a tool or the material fixed, but you don't want to both be mobile. I placed the vase on a flat surface to be able to turn it evenly. After some time and some lubrication, Success! For the bottom part, I made another jig from some random garage materials. I don't think that you will be able to guess what that metal part is supposed to be.
It's a scythe blade clamp.
This, let's say, unique system allowed me to turn the vase with extreme precision. Maybe I did not use enough lubricant or use too much pressure because the diamond bit began to burn. Well, I guess my intense and focused attention damaged the tool, and not the 30,000 RPM. After changing the bit, I managed to cut off the bottom piece. Upon examining the vase, upon examining my now proprietary odor sampling device, I noticed a few cracks. They were quite small and did not seem to influence the function nor the safety of the Smellinator. Listen, when I am in my garage, I bestow myself the right to name things. It just needed a bit of sanding to make it safe and somewhat pleasant, and we are done. I hope my wife will like it, because I don't want to repeat this experience again.
The sacred Smellinator TM. I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, my dearest husband. And here's the gas station coffee cup and a naked blotter next to it. I can absolutely confirm my husband's efforts didn't go to waste. The new Smellinator is the absolute best method to experience perfume. It amplifies the smell and it feels as if I can identify every single note using it. My Smellinator can survive inside a dishwasher. This really helps get rid of perfume traces and unwanted smells. Perfume smelling method number 3, the skin test. This method is the least reliable one because we're all just so different with quite diverse skin pH levels. However, at the same time, this skin testing method is crucial, the least reliable, but definitely the most important one. There's a real-life hilarious story about one ingenious perfumer. He always used blotters to test his fragrances. He just saw no need for experimentation with people up until one day when he created a magnificent perfume and released it to the public. His creation quickly gained wild success and soon became one of the most popular fragrances among women. One evening, he met a lady at a restaurant. She looked absolutely stunning, but most importantly, she smelled divine. The perfumer already started decoding the notes in his mind, thinking about ways to recreate her scent. Then he slowly built up his courage and finally asked her, "Kind lady, your perfume choice is simply spectacular. What perfume is this?" The lady looked baffled. "Sir, it's your newest creation." He slowly leaned back on his chair. "I must start testing my formulas on skin," he concluded. But now I wonder, if he had never asked the lady what perfume she was wearing, would the world have been gifted with yet another magical perfume of his creation? What he recognized was something entirely different, a new aroma which was born through the unity of her skin's pH and his master creation, a new combination which may have never existed before. We are all so unique, all of us. A breastfeeding mother, someone on steroids, a teenager going through puberty, a sunburned tourist, an Olympic athlete. There's no way in the world that the same perfume would smell exactly the same on everyone's skin. Yes, we do have very different pH levels, but we also have different backgrounds and different life experiences. This one day, my daughter came running to me with something in her tiny jar. "What do you have here?" "It's a centipede. Smell him. He smells like salt." And yes, he did. By 100%, a perfect smell of sea salt and iodine lingered all around his minuscule, black, shiny body. We then let him go, but from that day, my daughter formed a two-way link. In a few weeks, she accidentally smelled salt in the kitchen and immediately exclaimed, "Ew, the salt smells exactly like that centipede. Can we get a different brand or something?" So yes, my biggest advice would be to smell everything and then ponder about how does it smell and what does it smell like. Find an old rusty pair and smell your hands after handling old keys. Or try smelling stale vase water. Is it really purely pungent? What if you toned it down by 99% and added some floral notes? What about a jar of jam which has gone bad? Where's the line between edible and completely foul? I guess there are at least 50 levels of in-between smells. So let's all keep training our noses, and I'll see you soon on my other reviews. Bye!